right, good evening, everybody. We will officially get started in just 1 minute. But before we do, however, I just wanted to go over a little bit of housekeeping rules. We are here to take public comment on the presentation. However, there is a dedicated space in the agenda for public comment, so I ask that everyone please hold all of your questions or comments until that time. We do have both a sign-in sheet and also a public comment card here in the room. If you are making a comment, I would ask that you please fill out the comment card and include either your email address or your home address. This will allow us to provide a written response to you as part of this public comment period. We do also have interpretation, and so I'm going to turn it over to Jessica to let everyone know how they would be able to activate the interpretation for their Zoom, and then I will also activate it before we get officially started. So Jessica?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
If you want to let people know in Spanish how they can select Spanish language in Zoom, that would be great, please. Thank you.
Están explicando que pueden escoger el canal de español en la opción de Zoom para escuchar la interpretación.
Thank you. I've now activated the interpretation, so Daryl, you can go ahead and get the meeting officially started.
Welcome everyone tonight to the Martinez Renewables public meeting, Safety, Culture Assessment, and Management Systems Evaluation. We have a nice group here tonight, so we're not going to be using the microphone, but if you do have any difficulty hearing us, please let us know and we can do so. To start things off, I'd like to introduce our District 5 County Supervisor, Chanel Scales-Preston, who has some words for us to begin with.
Thank you, Daryl, and thank everyone for being here this evening. I think it's, good for us to be able to review the assessment and the management system evaluation, and if there are any members from the public that's in the room, to be able to ask questions, provide any type of transparency, and so that they can be able to communicate in their communities as well, I think is important. And then have this public comment period, be able to move forward. So I know I wasn't here as a county supervisor when the incident occurred, but now serving on the Industrial Safety Ordinance Committee, I just want to make sure I'm learning everything I need to learn along the way and understanding all the different instances, especially with having 3 refineries in my district. So I'm constantly learning. So this is also helpful for me as well. So I just want to thank Contra Health and Nicole and Daryl and our consultants as well for getting this evaluation completed. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Nicole Heath, Director of the Hazardous Materials Program for Costa County, if you'd like to introduce anyone else or get us going with anything else that housekeeping needs.
All right, thank you very much, Cheryl. Yes, just as a reminder to everyone as well that's in attendance, as with all of our meetings, this Zoom meeting is being recorded. So this recording, as well as the PowerPoint presentations that you will see presented by our consultants and by myself today, will be posted online. We are right now in the middle of a 45-day public notice period. It started on July 7th and it ends August 21st. So not only are we accepting comments today, but if in the future you're reviewing the documents again and another question comes up, you will still have time to send in a comment, and we will tell you at the end how you can send in comments. They can be submitted to our office either via email or through the USPS mail. But yeah, and so, also just as a reminder, when our office is addressing these major chemical accidents or releases, we are able to hire independent consultants to do a variety of different evaluations. We at Contra Costa Health did not pursue an independent incident investigation because this incident was being investigated by the U.S. Chemical Safety Board. And so we were relying on their investigation and report to help guide us along the way. And we do give updates on both the work that our division is doing as well as the CSB report through the ISO meetings. So I encourage you all to participate in those as well. But without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Nick Bruno from Motive Power to get us started with our presentation this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss our assessment report and our key findings and recommendations for the Martinez Renewables. First off, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Nick Bruno. I'm with Motive Power. We're a management consulting firm based out of San Francisco. I've worked there for 10 years. I have 20 years of experience with organizational development, process improvement, project management, and I helped Dr. Cooper here with this iteration of the safety culture maturity framework. My colleague Austin Miley was a big supporter of this report development, along with Rod Knox, who was on site for our February assessment period. I'll let Dom Cooper introduce himself and his background.
Dom, you are on mute.
Oh, hello, everybody. Thank you for inviting me. My name's Dom Cooper. I've been researching safety culture since the 1990s. I've assessed facilities in 5 regions of the world, North America, Europe, Asia, Middle East, and North Africa, in a variety of industries: mining, transportation, logistics, chemical, oil and gas, petrochemicals, refineries. I've published books and scientific papers on the topic since the mid-1990s, and on safety culture and many other topics besides. I hope that gives you some insight to my background.
So just as a quick incident overview, back in November 19th, 2023, an operator, Jerome Serrano, was troubleshooting a furnace as it was starting up the first time after the plant was modified to process renewable fuels. A tube in the recycle furnace ruptured, releasing a diesel type material that caught on fire. The fire engulfed Jerome, resulting in 3rd-degree burns over 80% of his body. The incident was classified as a community warning system level 2 incident and met the definition of a major chemical accident release. As a result, this third-party evaluation of the refinery's management system and safety culture was implemented by Contra, Costa. So today's objective will be provide a quick high-level overview of the safety culture maturity assessment. The full assessment can be found on Contra Costa Health website. To present key findings and recommendations, and then most importantly, receive public feedback for incorporation in the final assessment report and hear your comments. So some background on the assessment itself. Motive Power, along with BSMS, kicked off with Martinez Renewables back in January of 2025. We conducted on-site assessments in February of 2025, along with follow-up interviews and an online survey that extended into March of 2025. Since then, we've been developing the report and having draft reviews to come up with the final report that was produced on July 3rd. And again, this report on this link, I believe Nicole will share it on the site on this Zoom call. And the assessment was to identify strengths and areas for improvement in Martinez Renewable safety culture and management systems through this assessment. And hopes just to help identify those gaps and make both the facility and the community safer. So the scope of the assessment was to conduct evaluation of management systems. In this case, safety management systems would include things like operating procedures, safety communications, training, risk assessments, things of that nature, human factors, and the safety culture as well. Out of around 280 people at Martinez Renewables, we were able to engage with 191 individual pieces of feedback throughout that the employee base. We did a safety document review of over 40 documents to include audits, incident reports, meeting minutes, things of that nature, prior to the actual on-site portion. With that in hand, we conducted 4 in-person workshops, which went through a list of questions that I'll kind of highlight here in a bit. We had 13 separate sessions with both in-person and virtual interviews, some one-on-one, some in groups. And then we also had 2 days of on-site observations. Martinez Renewables allowed our assessment team to observe and have conversations throughout the facility. And then we also followed up with an online survey that mimicked the same questions that we had within that workshop to have the ability to get both quantitative and qualitative feedback, as well as improvement recommendations from the employees. With that information, we just transcribed it, standardized it, and conducted both qualitative and quantitative statistical data analysis to verify the reliability and dependability of the information. And all of that went into our safety culture assessment report. The basis for our questions that we used to assess Martinez Renewables was based on the safety culture maturity model that you see here. On the right-hand side, you can see 10 domains that we utilized for the questions, both the quantitative and qualitative assessment. It involved questions related to safety culture strategy, around the risk assessment program and processes, and then walked through these, calling them cultural root cause areas around these different norms. Social norms are around kind of beliefs about safety humans have, whether they're true or not. So productivity versus safety is the feeling on, how much getting work done quickly versus safely is in place at a facility. Just culture is the fairness of how a company responds to incidents. Descriptive norms are related to the everyday safety related behaviors. So safety leadership is around how the leaders show commitment to safety day in and day out. Managerial compliance, how much managers adhere to safety rules day in and day out. And then injunctive norms are more of the formal aspects of safety. So safety communications is how often and consistent is information shared to the company. Safety competence is around having the necessary skills to conduct work safely. And then lessons learned is how you learn from past events based on incidents. There's also CAPA, which is corrective and preventative action, which is just an area of how we make sure that things, if they've happened, we correct them, and then how we try to prevent future occurrences as well. On the left-hand side, we rated these 10 domain areas across a 5-point maturity scale. The maturity goes from commencing, which is ultimately an organization that's rudimentary, doing ad hoc safety culture, and kind of chaotic in terms of the day-to-day. Complying is kind of the average mid-range, which is around meeting the requirements to satisfy regulators, auditors, customers, and stakeholders, all the way up to commanding, which is continuous improvement and ingrained in the organization's DNA as a safety culture mindset. Each of these different ranges, as you can see, have a quantitative score between 0 to 30 for commencing, all the way to 91 to 100% commanding. This is on purpose that the lower the maturity, the wider range of scoring is allowing, because there's more growth available. As you get into the committing and commanding areas, it's harder to progress, but still there's gains to be made if you can continually improve. So kind of going into the key findings from our assessment across the maturity, Martinez Renewables was scored as 65%, which is in the complying range. This is lower than BSMS's global mix of industry peers that they've assessed over the years, both in the oil and gas and petrochemical refineries. But these other peers also averaged in that complying range as well. but at a higher percentile from the historical. We also, based on our assessment of injury records and incidents, we were able to take the responses from the assessment and then assess that with the previous injury and incident records. We actually were able to come up with some predictive domain areas that would indicate higher potential for future personal injury risk, as well as process safety risk. So out of those 10 domains for personal injury, productivity for force safety, just culture and safety leadership were the areas that we wanted to focus on to reduce that risk in the future, as well as process safety, again, productivity for safety and safety leadership, and then with risk assessment being related to more of the process safety predictive nature. In addition to those predictive findings, we also had these other key findings that related to that future risk, as well as some additional areas that we found based on the assessment. It's the difference between managerial and boots on the ground operational perspectives related to safety. Highlights of communication in areas of improvement related to consistent and related communications based on the different types of methods. Some training and shadowing gaps related to the ability for the workforce to improve around the safety venue. And then some resource allocation and employee morale were kind of some recurring themes. And then a sense of some reactive rather than proactive safety management. Those are kind of highlighted in the report and they relate to the recommendations that we'll get into. So out of the assessment, we come up with a total of 9 recommendations, each with a corresponding set of actions. We ranked the recommendations with a high priority of high, medium, or low, as well as within the actual action items in the assessment, some time frame recommendations in terms of should this be something that should be looked at in the immediate, or again, in terms of being able to push that off based on the risk factors of that. So I'll walk through kind of high level the recommendations and then some of the action items that you can see here. So recommendation number 1 was prioritizing both safety and resource allocation. There was a a staffing review that was planned for 2025. That would be helpful for understanding the staffing levels and staffing needs based on that workload analysis. Employee retention, that was an area that people had discussed potentially feeling that there's other opportunities in the area, and based on their feelings on the ground, retention had been part of the issues that they had seen. And then making sure adequate resources for safety initiatives and making sure that each of the different groups had a voice, had a methodology to be able to highlight areas either from resource from a human standpoint or safety resources were being heard and documented along the way. So as you can see from those recommendations, structured process to help prioritize both safety funding, taking those staffing reviews and making sure resources were aligned appropriately, especially on the operator and on the ground level. Communicate key policies around safe production and look into employee retention strategies that would be tied to potential compensation and career growth. And then implementing safety metrics at the department level, and then make sure those are integrated into performance evaluations and ongoing monitoring. Second recommendation, priority was high as well, is fostering that just culture. Just culture is related to feelings of kind of retaliation for reporting or being able to highlight incidents that they felt the management would be on their side. So we want to make sure that enhance the anonymous reporting system, allowing people to report without having to give a name, implement and be more direct around the non-retaliation policy. and then accountability measures for safety performance all through the chain of command. And so the action items in this regard would be reiterate that the non-retaliation policy, have training related to it, and make sure people are aware that if you report a safety issue, you will be protected. Having a transparent investigation process around safety incidents. Feedback mechanisms was areas that we had heard in terms of reporting. They felt comfortable that sometimes feedback would not get back to them, or if feedback got back to them, there was some sense that potentially the intent of their request was not fully met. So making sure those feedback mechanisms, when available, include a confirmation that the action and the fix met the request. And then establish organization-wide safety accountability, making sure that at all levels, people are aware of their responsibilities throughout the organization. Another last high priority item was improving communication. So it would be developing a communication plan, including those feedback mechanisms, and then even safety communication leadership for those in a position to provide that communication on a day-to-day basis. Making sure that communication flows were effective, got to all the people that needed it. Certainly we know from different organizations, some people like email, some people don't. Some people will be at a meeting and hear the same thing that somebody else will forget it. So repetitive messaging would be the key here, and then making sure that people are aware of the different methods that they should be understanding, things that they care about. The safety leadership training related to communication skills. And then one of the main takeaways is in terms of actions as a communication method, making sure that if you have standing meetings, you have lots of different groups that have lots of different things going on. Kind of a formal action item tracking system we felt would be very important, so that things that were said have an assigned owner, responsible actions, what the deadlines would be, and then a governance of that, so that things don't fall through the cracks, and that things are more consistently completed based on the visibility of that action item. Number 4 recommendation would be enhancing the safety leadership. So strengthen that leadership commitment to safety and training related to their responsibilities related to the safety management system and those effective safety practices. Define those safety accountability areas for the leadership, highlighting consequences for unsafe behaviors, making sure it's a consistent policy throughout the organization. Have targeted leadership training on the safety management system roles, and then ensure that the leaders are engaging in safety activities and they're modeling safe behaviors for their teams. They are visible, they are down, working with the operators so that they see that leadership engagement. Recommendation number 5, enhancing the risk assessment practices. So to cultivate a proactive and comprehensive approach to risk management, and ensure it's a consistent application and correlating risk assessment training. Standardized risk assessment procedures, defining both critical and non-critical tasks, and then that proactive hazard identification throughout operations and through management. Ensuring that qualified personnel are conducting risk assessments, have clear competency requirements for that, train and provide refresher courses on those and responsible for those risk assessments. And then implement a risk control system, making sure that you're integrating incident history to help inform future risk severity and likelihood. Recommendation number 6, training effectiveness and competency. Have a multifaceted approach to improve training methods and content, increasing hands-on training, and implementing a competency assessment program. So the action items here would be to align training with job roles, make sure safety training is specific to those duties and those specific hazards and responsibilities. Help expand hands-on learning. There's certainly computer-based training that's utilized. We would recommend actions related to increasing job shadowing opportunities. So those that are trained have time to shadow for more time beyond that, and then making sure that operator qualification and skill transfer is implemented. And then with that, competency assessment programs to make sure that as things change, not the first training, but also assessing the competency throughout, refresher training, pop quizzes from SMS skills were things that we heard throughout the workforce. Number 7 is aligning practices with county ISO and the OEMS, which is Marathon's safety management system. We identified 3 areas that, if not within the current guidance, like lone worker policies in terms of how to manage workers when they're out alone without others around them, worker participation, and then hazard identification based on county ISO regulations. So actions, take a look at lone worker safety protocols, processes, and highlight those around potential gaps in terms of the OEMS. Highlight an improvement plan within OEMS around those worker participation, lone worker safety, and risk assessment practices, and then have a monitoring and governance system to make sure that we're tracking the implementation, progress, and effectiveness of those improvements. Number 8 recommendation, priority of low, would be incorporating pre-meeting safety discussions, which is simply establishing proactive safety discussions at the start of all meetings using standardized templates and visual aids. So this would be all meetings, whether it's on the operator floor or in a leadership team weekly management meeting, based on some benchmark best practices that we're familiar with. Other organizations do that. It really increases the safety culture day to day when at a leadership team meeting, you're highlighting different safety protocols before you get into the agenda. So the action items here would be develop standardized pre-meeting safety discussion tools, including those areas that make sense for Martinez Renewables, including fire safety, earthquake, active shooter, things like that, that are just kind of part of the culture to talk about before anytime more than 1 or 2 people are getting together for a meeting. Train all employees on the purpose of this and to help conduct those effective safety discussions, and then a continuous improvement. So as this going forward plan, help to refine it and improve it based on feedback and results day to day. And final recommendation would be to help improve data integration and analysis, would be to add an area team column to Martinez Renewables Intellect's PSM data reports, track work density and exposure hours, and analyze incidence rates for better safety management. This came out of our looking at incident information and then wanting to utilize it for analysis. We felt that by adding an area team to the PSM reports, you can link incidents with specific locations and teams for that improved analysis. Part of our analysis looked at kind of the incident reviews, and so work density was highlighted as an area that potentially could validate or support historical safety trends. So integrating that was an action item, and then establish ongoing tracking of both work density and exposure hours to enhance that accuracy of safety performance analysis. So those were the 9 recommendations, and that is the conclusion of my highlights. I'll push it back to Nicole for next.
You can stop your share and then I will share my presentation. So before we move on to the next part of our agenda today, which will be the public comments, I did want to answer one question that I believe might be on everybody's mind, which is what are the next steps for this report? So as I mentioned earlier, we are currently in the 45-day public comment period where we're soliciting comments from the public on this report. Once that 45-day public comment period ends on the 21st of August, Contra, Costa Health, and Motive Power will be providing written responses to all comments received. The written response to all these comments will be appended into a next draft of the report, which we will call our draft final report. This report will be presented to the Industrial Safety Ordinance Ad Hoc Subcommittee of the Board of Supervisors. At that presentation, if we have additional comments from the supervisors, then we will go through one more iteration of the report before we have a final report. The final report will be published on our dedicated website for Marathon. I have put the website here on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. It is together.cchealth.org/marathon-hazmat. People in the room want to take a picture of that if you're not already aware of the website. We have not only will we have this presentation, Nick's presentation, and a recording of this meeting, we also have all of the work that has been done internally by Contra Costa Health's hazmat team, such as the most recent triennial audit evaluating compliance with the Industrial Safety Ordinance and California Accidental Release Prevention Program. We also have the safety inspection that was internally done by our engineering team after the November 2023 event. So there is a wealth of information for Marathon centrally located on this webpage. And then Contra Costa Health, through our Hazardous Materials Division, will have continued oversight of the action plan that was just presented to you. So we will be working very closely with Marathon to ensure that they develop an action plan, ensure that the deadlines for the action plan are within a reasonable time frame, and ensuring that they meet the intent of what's been presented out today. So we will be holding them accountable for addressing all 9 of the recommendations that you've heard. And then lastly, if you would wish to make further comments, outside of today, you can email comments to our email at hazmatartteam@cchealth.org or mail them to our office on Pacheco Boulevard. Again, comments will be taken until August 21st. And with that, I just want to end by thanking, not only Motive Power and BSMS for all of the work that they did. I also want to thank my team for the work that they've undertaken since 2023 when this incident occurred. Robert is our lead engineer for the Marathon site and has spent many hours, doing continued oversight and follow-up and helping the project get to where it is right now. But I'd also like to thank Marathon. The Industrial Safety Ordinance states that you must let us on site to conduct activities after a major chemical accident or release. And in my experience, that has been fulfilled in many different ways. And so I do really thank you for your openness and being able to so candidly, share the information and provide us easy access to the information so that we can get the studies done. And so with that, I will end and turn it over to Daryl so we can commence our public comment period.
Good evening. We'll be limiting public comment to 2 minutes this evening. I have 3 comment cards already. If I haven't gotten a card from you and you'd like to make a comment, please grab a comment card from near the door there and get it to me. As a courtesy, we will allow Mr. Stats to begin.
And just really quickly, sorry, if you are online, we're going to start in the room and then move to public comment online. If you're online and wish to make a comment, please raise your hand now, and then that way I'll have an idea of how many commenters we have total.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
All right, good evening. My name is Chris Stats, and I am the plant manager at Martinez Renewables. Thank you to Contra Costa Health and the community for the opportunity to be here tonight. The safety of our employees, our contractors, and our neighbors remain our highest priority. So we appreciate the chance to listen and engage on this important topic. Since the moment of our November 2023 incident occurred, we've taken seriously our responsibility to understand what happened and how to prevent it from happening again. This has included conducting a thorough internal investigation and fully cooperating with our regulatory authorities, including Contra Costa Health, Cal OSHA, and the U.S. Chemical Safety Board. The findings are public, and we continue to make progress on the corrective actions identified. We made targeted improvements to both personal and process safety, reinforced our stop work obligation, and increased leadership engagement across all levels of our organization. We've also focused on listening to our employees, creating more opportunities for open dialogue and feedback, and we're encouraged by the positive responses we received from them. Our team takes pride in their work, and our collective focus on personal process safety continues to drive our progress. We're always looking to improve. Our recent health, environment, safety, and security metrics reflect those efforts as we strive daily to operate safely and reliably while delivering energy solutions for California. We understand that trust is earned through action, That's why we remain focused on listening, learning, and doing the work necessary to ensure our facility operates with the higher standards of safety, transparency, and collaboration. Thank you.
Mr. Brightman.
Sure. Thank you for calling me. Quanah Brightman, I'm Executive Director of United Native Americans. Just to give a brief synopsis of who I represent, for tribal people, we were founded in 1968 in the Greater Bay Area of San Francisco. We were involved in the takeover of Alcatraz, Wounded Knee, a couple long walks across country. Had a group one time that took over Mount Rushmore, reclaimed it from my nation, the Lakota Nation. I come here today because, I'm very concerned about this community, and in particular, the seed of this community here in Martinez. Just listening to, the assessment that, we were just provided, it was very educational. A lot of good recommendations that I see, that are unfolding. But, there's a lot of work still left to do, Anyway, I just wanted to share a few comments from our organization. The PBF Martinez Refining Company is still out of compliance with the Contra Costa Health Hazardous Materials best practice recommendations that would have prevented further catastrophic environmental disasters to the residents that reside in Martinez, California, and who reside in Contra Costa County. PBF Martinez has only 560 employees, yet this insidious refinery is putting the lives of 37,000 Martinez residents, in danger. Just like their criminal negligence on November 19th, 2023, which led to a massive fire that resulted in a field operator being seriously
5 seconds.
And I really don't like being interrupted now. Thank you. But similar to the incidents that have happened and occurred in 2025, we've had a number of these incidents. There's an ongoing pattern of criminal negligence here, and it needs to be stopped.
Thank you. Time is up. I do apologize. I was not meaning to interrupt you. I just
You
wanted
can
to
do
alert you of
hands,
your
or
time.
you can wave a card. Okay, don't interrupt people when they're speaking.
I appreciate that feedback for the future.
Thank you,
I
sir.
do want to make one really important clarification. First off, I want to thank you for coming tonight. I know that you have attended other meetings in the
As
past that
only
we have
tribal
had.
leader here, you should be grateful.
I know that you've attended other meetings in the past that we've had related to Martinez Refining Company, or PBF as we call them. A very important distinction that I did not make earlier when we started this meeting is that this is about the Martinez Renewable Fuels, which was formerly known as Marathon
That's the same
Refinery.
shit. All
I
the
understand.
Refineries that you guys permit is bullshit.
I would
Please,
like
decorum
to-
for the evening, sir.
I would like to let you know, though, that we are accepting public comments around Martinez Refining Company / PBF.
Well, these gas prices ain't going down, are they?
And so you may still email comments or mail comments into the same email address and mailing address. And I would be really happy to provide you information on the MRC reports that we just had a meeting on last month. So I will come find you afterwards.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
But don't interrupt me in the future, please. Thank you.
Mr. McAllister.
Good evening, Aaron McAllister, I'm Deputy Fire Chief, Contra Costa County Fire District. We did respond to the incident, but this facility presents some unique challenges for us, mostly because it's not in a fire. It is literally an island that, in our view, is unprotected. We of course responded. We're gonna mitigate life safety threats and assist in any way we can. We are the EMS provider of the county as well for transport services. But why do I bring this up? It's critically important that the facility maintains their industrial fire brigade, because that really is their front line of protection. And then Contra Costa Fire will of course serve as the fallback. But we also lack the ability to do any sort of pre-fire engineering, plan review during construction, weed abatement enforcement for wildland fire. That risk is ever present in the area. So I just wanted to make sure that was included in the record this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have any other public comments in the room? Seeing none, if you'd like to begin for the online comments.
Okay, if you'd like to make a comment online, please raise your hand. I did also put that in the chat, Daryl, to see if we would have any commenters, but I'm not seeing any at this point in time.
Very good then. Seeing no comments in the room and no further comments online, would you like to move on to your Contra Costa Health HMP update?
I actually did that at the end of this presentation. I went out of order, sorry.
Oh,
So
okay.
no further updates from Contra Costa Health.
Very good. Well then, Supervisor, if you
Yeah.
have any final thoughts you'd like to share?
Yeah, I just want to thank for the public comment. For me, this public comment is good. Like I said, I'm a new supervisor, so all of that is good information for me to take in. And then also I want to thank the refinery manager from Martinez Renewables. We appreciate the statement and just being transparent, but also you know, working towards to ensure that this incident doesn't happen again. And you know, you said something about listening to your employees and the workers, and I think that matters. And so I'm glad you all are taking that step as well. I know one of the bullet points up there was, you know, making sure employees, if they see something, if they come and tell, they're not gonna be retaliated against. And I really think that can help with safety culture. If people see something, they should say something no matter where you work at. And so I appreciate you taking that in mind and, you know, working on these 9 steps. I think it's a pathway to move forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. And with that, I believe we've concluded our agenda for this evening. Thank you, Mr. Bruno and Dr. Cooper. Ms. Heath,
All right.
anything further before we adjourn?
No, thank you everyone for coming. We will have this posted in a couple of days to our website. And again, I cannot encourage everybody enough to please provide your comments if you have any comments after the meeting today. And thank you everyone so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Good evening.